What's good, dads? Welcome to the Dad Den, the Dad's Den, the Dad's Den podcast. This isn't for just talk. This is for real, raw journey of fatherhood. Today, we're pulling back the curtain of the unseen load so many of us carry. Those silent battles, those silent battles that many of us have with imposter syndrome, the weight of our own mental and emotional well-being, and how it impacts all the way that we show up for our families. We also are diving into a crucial conversation about extending true compassion to our partners, especially during pregnancy and postpartum period. This is a space for us, by us, to build stronger fathers, stronger families, and stronger communities. Now let's get into it. So here I have with me, I said, esteemed Coco Dad, Otto and Swa,
What's going
and
on, everybody?
and we have our local professional and also dad. This Clarence Izzard, Clarence Bay Izzard, and he represents the Dad Lab. He's a esteemed father and also professional in this space, so he's here to kind of guide us along in this conversation. I actually have more than a few questions that I'm gonna bring up and we're gonna talk about, but we definitely will be leaning on his experience, the dad's dad, in this conversation. So, uh, first, Otto, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Otto Enswa. I'm married to the CEO of Coca Life, Lakeisha Enswa. I work in pharmaceutical industries. I'm a mechanical engineer. I do project based projects, and I do a lot of traveling for my work and stuff. I have three girls, twin girls actually, 12, 7, and 7. And I love my family and I love the Lord.
Excellent, excellent. Clarence, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm Clarence Bayazard. I work for Einstein Hospital, which is part of the Jefferson Healthcare Network. Been here for over 22 years. I facilitate a program called Dad Lab, and I am a proud bonus dad of an 18-year-old that will be attending Morgan State University in the fall as an engineer major. So I'm very happy for that.
Wow.
Christopher. And I am a proud member of the greatest organization known to God and man, Cap Alpha Psi Fraternity
Oh,
Incorporated.
here we go.
And I'm just glad to be here. Thank you.
Wow, it's so funny. I know so many members of fraternities, and I know a few members, Kappa members, but I'll never put you guys together. I want y'all to gang up on me. But my name is Musa Demboya, and I am a developer, affordable housing developer, and also I'm a dad. I'm a dad of a 13-year-old and a 5-year-old. Funny fun fact about me, I turned 50 last year and my son turned 5. Well, turned 5 last year as well. So, I speak for the geriatric parents over here. So I speak for that demographic, us right here. But yeah, well, thank you for introducing yourselves, and let's get into it. Let's get into it. So the first question that I want to get into is one that is rarely discussed amongst men. I definitely feel that that's the case, and it has to do with male imposter syndrome. Now, let me see. Male imposter syndrome. What is the best way that you would describe male imposter syndrome, Clarence?
I would say it's one of those things that we get caught up in where we fake it until we can't make it.
Mhm.
We think we know what it's like to be a man, but we're not sure what it's like to be a dad. And so we have this feeling of inadequacy in this transition. So, what am I supposed to do? What am I doing? Am I doing things right? Am I doing things wrong? So, we feel like we're fake. So, we feel like we're an imposter.
Yeah. And how do you think that male imposter syndrome shows up in new father auto? What is your opinion on that?
So, male imposter showing up in new fathers is doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. So, if you're a new father and you haven't really had children in your life and you're trying to raise your son or daughter, you wouldn't have the abilities or the expertise to do something to help out your spouse or your significant other. So, for holding your child or even trying to make your child go to sleep or just being able to connect and have some of the same um, interests with your child per se would be some of the things.
Yeah, and I think that, as men, we like to perform and master things. So I think part of one of the ways that it shows up in new fathers, and even myself when I was a new father, is sometimes you end up doing too much.
Mhm.
You end up doing too much things that you don't necessarily, have to do. Sometimes you can get in the way a little bit, just
Mhm.
telling your significant other in effort to try and help out. You say, no, no, I got this, I got this, I got
Right,
this.
right, right,
Then in situations where you are able to help, and you may try and show up and do a lot of things you don't necessarily know how to do. You might think that certain things are intuitive when they're not. And what can happen is frustration can be, you can notice a lot of frustration in new dads because they may feel like the wife or the girlfriend or the partner is getting in the way. You won't
right,
let me be great. You
Mhm.
won't let me do these things when honestly you may not have been trained. You may not know how to do some of the things, as well as your wife, your significant other, you know. So I think that's how it may show up.
I agree.
Also too, you can also feel embarrassed or
Yeah.
adequate. So you can just feel like I'm not stepping up to the plate. And
Hmm.
embarrassment in a lot of men is a very delicate situation to talk about. So if you feel embarrassed and you can't help out your significant other, your spouse, or whoever it is, then you might come into a shell thinking that I can't do the things that I'm supposed to do, even though you haven't even learned those things to do because you're a
Hmm.
new father or whatever the situation may be. So
Right.
yeah.
And I think a lot of times with that is because we fold into societal expectations
Hmm.
or personal ideologies. Society that that's supposed to do this, whether it's
Right.
you know, uh, the Cosby, God bless the Cosby, was my man
Hmm.
James Evans.
Hmm.
He's supposed to be that, or if you're supposed to be Dre from Blackish.
Right.
So
Hmm.
we get caught into this is what we think a dad is going to be, and then if we don't fit up to that, then we have these things. And then the other part of it is when you're talking about your personal ideology. Again, it's what was we grown in, what was we seeing. So if you was raised in a home with your father or
Exactly.
positive male role models or role models, period, male role models, what do you take from that in your family of origin and how you setting that up? And
Hmm.
so it is what we've all been saying is you're not sure. And then how you parent your first child to your second child to your third
Hmm.
child, or how you parent a male child to a female child can different also. So in all of
Absolutely.
these different things, and then as you point out, bro, in your stage of life.
Right.
If you have a child when you're younger, a teen, y'all growing up together. You have
Right.
a child when you're grown, and you and your wife and your partner are growing together. The child grow with
Hmm.
you. If you're kind of set where you at, and then it's like they kind of got to meet you there. So all of those things play a part in this imposter syndrome and us scratching our head on how to make this out.
Hmm. Now, for me, when I faced, and you hit the nail on the head because as a dad, older dad, I definitely felt as though I should have everything together, and I had to say to my wife, like, I just don't know. You
Hmm.
Right.
know, the only way that I was able to really overcome that feeling of inadequacy is through humility to say, look, I don't know, but I know somebody else knows. Can you tell me so I can do the right thing? So I think the need to get things right, overwhelming, superseding the need to be right is what what got me through because
Right.
it's one thing to be a young guy and be a new father because new fathers come in all ages,
Yeah.
All
but
ages. All ages.
it's one thing to be young and to have your first experience. It's another thing to be, on the side where your peers may have grandkids.
Right.
You're like, how come I
Right.
can't figure this out?
Right.
Raise the whole adult, put them through college, marriage and all these things, and I'm struggling with a 2-month old. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely.
I like that because I'm a girl dad, so I
Mhm.
can only imagine the difference between raising a son versus raising a daughter. So as a man, and I grew up with two younger brothers, I know the dynamics of how boys are and things of that nature. So being a girl dad for my oldest, when we had her, I had to learn a whole bunch of new things to be a lot more gentle, more emotional. And now she's preteen, so now I have to learn how to adapt to her emotions, hear her,
Mhm.
and things of that nature. So her being the first oldest girl that I have now with my twin girls, it's a little easier to just hear them, play with them, and do the things that they like to do. So a lot of it's just through experiences that we have. So
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think my experiences with sharing as a bonus dad is coming in and uh, fitting in, not trying to supersede, trying to establish a relationship, your own relationship, but not trying to get in the way of the relationship of the dad. So in our situation, refers to me as dad, his father's father. And I think it works in a good situation, but it had to get to a point where Christopher and I have our own relationship. And
right,
Mhm.
so in that is not so much about the relationship that his mother and I have or had. It's about he and I relationship and the things that we can share. And so it's an ever changing thing. So as a young person, it's probably, if you're giving them candy and things like that, or if you're taking them to, fun trips or something like that, or
right,
you playing video games, but versus in this point where he's at now, graduating from high school and going to college, is trying to have those type of conversations about, being respectful, being responsible, being goal oriented and things of that nature. And
Mhm.
then just in the society that we live in, it's always a safety thing,
yes,
being
yes,
safe, being safe. So it's definitely is that. And then the imposter part of it is that we got to our places in our life. So we think we know what we know. But then as much as we think we know, then when we get in these situations with our children, often we just feel inadequate. Like, hey, am I telling them the right thing? Is this what I would do? Is it good for him?
right,
And so you get in your head with those things. Well, I get in mine at times. And
Mhm.
so it's like, how can I figure this out? How can we figure this out? And I think it's through communication. And I think it's through trial and error. It's
yes,
through
it is.
trial
Mhm.
and error. And it's through humility that if you try and it don't work, to say, hey, you know what? Maybe that wasn't the best thing, or maybe I'm a see how this thing work out, and then we could come back and visit this, because with the girl dads, and again, you know some dads feel like girl dads are for moms, and how does that make a child feel? That, hey, my dad doesn't love me because of my gender, like my dad
Right,
doesn't want to play with me, I can't hang with my dad because of that, and so that's not a good feeling.
right,
And then as we talk about with our wives and our partners, so you're not going to support me because our child is a female, like what sense does that make?
Mhm.
And
that's
so,
great.
how do we bring this in and balance it out? And then often you see, the love that, girls have for their dads. And then the
Mhm.
flip is we're their first model. And
Yes,
so,
we are.
and if we set this up and we set these standards and this is what we want, and all other relationships, what they have, that this person has a standard that they have to. If I know I'm loved and accepted by my parents and particularly my dad, then I don't have to go out and look for love and acceptance from someone else. And then if I know with unconditional love is that other
Mhm.
stuff you talk and it's not that. I have a
Yes,
good relationship where I can communicate with my dad. Then with stuff going on, hey dad, such and such told me this, or they're saying this, and then I'm already hip to the game. So I
yes,
think it's in our best interest for that. But it's also as men, we need to be having these same conversations with our boys. We can't just let our boys go out and think it's okay just because you're a boy. We need to have these conversations too. So imposter syndrome, parenting, being a dad, is not an easy job. It's a full time job and it's an ongoing job. So thank all the dads for, listening, joining in, and doing what is so needed to help our families stay healthy and grow. So thank you.
And
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. And also for gentlemen that may not have like sons, you always have the opportunity to impact a young man along his journey. That's why we're doing things like we're doing right now. My son is 5. He's not going to benefit from this conversation, but hopefully I'm able, and hopefully the three of us are able to reach dads that can really use this information, and even dads that may have gone already past, having kids and raising kids, give them opportunity to be able to vocalize some of the things they felt, thought, and some things they can share about their own experiences. So on to the next topic. Next topic is impact of wellness on a father, and impact of wellness, mental, emotional, and trauma. So, what is the impact on parenthood of those things? Mental, emotional, and trauma on parenthood. Let's start with you, Clarence, if you don't mind.
No problem. So I want to start with that, and it finished what we just was talking and leads into it. So the father or the male person being there is very important. And then you talked about trauma. So in the 2024 census, it was put out by the National Fatherhood Initiative, and it talks about fathers crisis in America, with the absence of fathers. So it says 17.6 million children, nearly 1 out of 4, are within the house without a biological, step, or adopted father in their home. So 1 out of 4 doesn't have. And so we talk about this impact. When that's not there, it's not a male there, they are greater risk for poverty. They are more likely to have behavior problems. They're greater risk for infant mortality. They're more likely to go to prison. They're more likely to commit a crime. They're more likely to become a teen, pregnant as a teen, more likely to face abuse and neglect, more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol, more likely to suffer obesity, and more likely to drop out of school. And this is according to the United States Bureau of Census 2024. So when we talk about wellness and we talk about mental, physical, if we as men come into relationships, into fatherhood, and we
Mhm.
have some of our undiagnosed, undisclosed, unaddressed issues, those things come into these relationships. Trauma is a part of life, in a lot of ways. Trauma doesn't have to be your life. Trauma doesn't have to end your life, but then it's how do you address it and acknowledge it. And so one of the things I think as men, sort of going to the first part, this imposter syndrome, is
Mhm.
this male masculinity that I'm a
right,
man, I'm the
right,
protector, I'm the provider. They
right,
don't see me crying. I
right.
don't hug them. I
Weakness.
do. Those are signs of weakness. So I don't deal with it. But if I didn't have a dad that supported me, or maybe a mom, or I didn't see that love in that, then that could traumatize me because now I don't know that. So then when my children come, I don't share that with them. And so in this, it's about men again willing to do represent true manliness, and represent true manliness is share your feelings, share your thoughts, share, hey, that's not something that my dad did with me, but hey, would you be interested in doing this? If it's something that you're interested in, hey, I'm here to support you. So using some words that maybe wasn't used before.
Mhm.
I think when we talk about wellness, that's one of the other things too. If you got a strong family, a sense of purpose that help keeps you well. It just can't be the Fred Flintstone that you go into the quarry and you work until the end of the bell, and then you drop the pebble and then you go home, because we got to make sure families are safe and well at home. And well meaning provided for, communicated with, and providing some guidance.
Mhm.
I really like that a lot. There was a lot of things you said there. One thing also too that we have to take into consideration too is a lot of this is generational too. So you're going back to a long period of time where things have been a certain way, so you have to break that trend, and that's tough to do. So you
Mhm.
have to have a circle around you, or you have to have the courage to get up to say that I'm going to be the one to be different, and I'm going to show my emotions. I'm going to speak out. I'm going to try to talk to somebody else to tell them how I'm feeling, tell them what I'm going through. That itself is being vulnerable. And us as Black men, a lot of Black men don't like being vulnerable, even with their partners. So they keep everything inside of them, thinking, like you said, they're tough, they're strong, and stuff like that. But my father said true power and true respect comes from when you're able to control your emotions and show your emotions in an adult type of way. So if
Mhm.
you're able to express your emotions to people and show how you feel, then that's a very, very good way to live your life. But if you don't know how to use those tools, it's okay to also get professional help as well. And that's a stigma in our type of community saying that, oh, I'm going to therapy, I'm doing some other things that could help you out in certain things. But we have to remove the stigma that sometimes therapy is a very, very good thing. It's an excellent thing to help men and women out in this world that can solve a lot of problems. Because if we don't have the tools to do something, we should go to professionals to help us learn those tools to manage our emotions and our experiences to break these generational curses that's been going on through our communities, which is very important.
Very, very well said.
Yeah, very important. And when I look at some of the facets and some of the things, mental wellness, which encompasses our cognitive functions, our thoughts, our ability to cope, daily stressors and conditions like depression, anxiousness, and ADHD. So, when you're dealing with mental health, especially, as a man, if you're dealing with mental health, it can strain the communication and reduce, even the emotional intimacy between you and your partner. So even when things become difficult,
Right.
it makes it very, very hard to handle any challenges that come along, as parents and work together because it not kind of it just really disrupts that bond between the two of you, and it's definitely present and the kids will be able to see it. And when you
Yes.
think of emotional wellness, I mean, if you're if you're emotionally let's say dysregulated, or you're
Mhm.
emotionally
Mhm.
wound up all the time, that leads to frequent arguments,
Mhm.
misunderstanding, your
Mhm.
partner feeling unsupported. All these things will
Mhm.
come out of the emotional wellness. And although you spoke to it, the trauma, a lot of times trauma is intergenerational,
Yes, it
you
is.
know, when it comes to distrust of the medical systems,
Mhm. Mhm.
feeling like I don't want my kids to get vaccinated because
Right.
they
Right.
may
Mhm.
end up with autism, or just there's a
Right.
lot of different things that we've experienced, especially within the Black community, that would lend towards that trauma and making decisions and trauma responses. I remember saying to my wife that there was um it was something that happened in the house, right? With my daughter, and I was like, "How do you think it's best to handle this situation?" Because from my experience, when a child, I think it was more of a situation like she was. We were worried about her like touching like electricity or something like
Mhm.
that in the house,
Mhm. Mhm.
or she was just being a little bit too curious as a
Mhm.
kid with household appliances and things.
Mhm.
And I was like, so how do you handle the situation to make sure she knows she's not supposed to do this? I said, honestly, growing up, all I know is corporal punishment. That's what I know. And I was like, I know there could have been a better way. What do
Right.
you know?
Right.
And that was me trying to break a kind of like a generational curse, because I'm
Right.
sure whoever, my parent learned corporal punishment from receiving it from her parent, going
Mhm.
Right.
all the way down the line.
Right.
So
Right.
let my generation be the one to find a better way.
Right.
Right.
And I think being honest and humility, once again, I think is the answer to that. And I think this is a huge, a very important conversation that we should have in the Black community, because of the Black and brown community And I mean, it's important for all communities, but especially for ours,
Mhm.
because of the trauma that we come from, the institutionalized, approved trauma that
Speak
we
on it.
grew up with.
That's
Right.
it.
So we
Yeah.
can't let that define us and
No.
allow it to cripple our children based on the things that were put on us, right?
Right.
And also too, we're talking about just how to manage our households as men.
Yeah, yeah.
So we still have to fight the things that are outside our households, our jobs, the society, us being black men. We have to be strong on the outside, and sometimes even on your job, you might have stresses and things of that nature. You can't bring them into your home because
Hmm.
that can also turn a situation in your household around too. So a lot of times you're compartmentalizing things that are happening at work, keeping it quiet on the inside, and you're going to be a ticking time bomb. And then something could be emotionally destroying you on the inside, which might not even be from things that are going on in your home. So
Hmm.
there's so many different factors. It could be pressures from your friends. It could be pressures from some old acquaintances. It could be your job. It can be your family members. Anything can just bring a stress in your house that you have to learn how to manage your emotions. And I'm a firm believer of that it's okay to talk about your experiences and try to get help. That's a big thing, I think.
And if I
Hmm.
can, Otto, you talked a couple of things. So earlier on, you talked about one, your circle around you. I think it's so
Mhm.
important. And I think even how we connected, we were around the situation. And for those who don't know, Cocoa Life Black is an organization that help and support women throughout, particularly women of color, in this maternal world and circle space. So I do this dad lab group and it's a parenting group. And so I would be in this space and it always was all these women and there's very few men, except some of these brothers on here. And then we had an opportunity to sit down and talk. And when we talked at Enon's Know Your Numbers and to have some of these conversations, it's like, wow, this is a good conversation. This is some of the things that we hear as, you know, the CEO and the chief operating officer's spouse. I know they hear it all the time. And it's like, yo, if I could share this with other dads that can help them on their journey, why not? And in my program and in my space, that's the same thing. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do this. So it is about getting yourself connected with the right people. And the right people is that, you know, same way you have specialists, 3D specialists in basketball, they might
Mhm.
not be the top scorer, but they could come in and do a little bit of this. Just with our Army Night, you had them, but you got your other people that's going to stand up and tell you right and things of that nature. The other part that was kind of talked about, and I agree so much with you, Musa, is that it's generational. It's this little story, this anecdote. You know, like one time I used to date this young lady, and then I went over her house for Thanksgiving, and then they brought the turkey out, but it was cut in half, and I was like, "Why is the turkey cut in half?" And she's like, "We always do this," and I'm thinking like, "Who cuts a turkey in half before they make it?" And they's like, "I," and that she looked, "Mom, don't you do it?" And she said, "Auntie, don't you do it?" They all like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "My mom ain't never cut no turkey in half." They said, "Ask my grandma, grandma." Don't you cut the turkey in? He said, yeah. He said, Grandma, what? Well, tell him why you do it. She said, because I had a small oven and the turkey couldn't fit in, so I had to cut it in half. And
Uh,
then they thinking it's generational. But because she did it that way, they got a big oven. They can put a full turkey in. But they don't. They cut it in half. So when we talk
it
Wow.
doesn't
about
matter about the
parenting,
reason. Right.
that's what it is. And that's what we do. We see
Right.
somebody do it. Get up. You
You
fell
do it.
down, boy.
Yeah.
You ain't. Nah. He broke his
Right.
whole leg. But you ain't going to make him heal from a broken leg. You're not going to go over there and tend to that first. So
No.
we got to get out of that. And then one of the ways getting out, I was looking at it. And at first, you know, you hear about it. It's like those 5 love languages. So you be thinking,
Yeah.
love language, you know, what that mean? So with kids and teens, you know, so in it, you know, it's words of affirmation. So, hey, I'm proud of you. You know, have a good day. Be the best you can be. You know,
Hmm.
giving an affirmation to a child each and every day
I like
don't
that.
cost you nothing, but it fills them
Hmm.
up. That one
Mm.
acts of service. You know, you could do little things. It don't have to be no $120 pair of sneakers and all that. little things, a
Yep.
little thing for them. Maybe you have a little treat for them, or maybe you say in
Mm-hmm.
and when it's appropriate, hey, you can sit in the front seat, or hey, when it's appropriate, hey, I'm gonna let you walk 3 steps. You can walk in front of me like you by yourself, and I'm just gonna go
Mm,
behind. That's something that a boy or kid would feel, or hey,
proud.
why your mom in the store? We gonna go over here into the game store and do some stuff like that. Little things, little gifts, quality time, and I think it's important for dads to show up and be present and be consistent. One of the
Yes.
worst things going into the trauma is being inconsistent, saying that you're gonna come and don't come, saying you're going to do and not do. And that's why if you do these little things, it don't have to be, oh, I'm coming over and I'm giving you this. The little stuff, it's the time. Hey, right now, for those who listen, we just celebrated Juneteenth this week. There's a lot of different activities going on in the Philadelphia area. They will be kicking off the Wawa Celebrating America events. Is actually an event that's happening next third Wednesday at 5 o'clock at the Seashore Recreational Center at 10th and Allen. It's free. It's going to be free giveaways and things like that. If you check on the Philadelphia website, and then I hope we can link something to ours of all the different free activities that's going to be happening during the summer. You could go to any of those. Also, during this Wow Wow Welcome to America, a lot of the museums are free. You can go
Mhm,
take
Mm-hmm.
them to the museum. Go there,
mhm,
take them to the museum. They giving out free hoagies on one day, water ice and things like that. Everything don't have to cost money. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
being cautious and things supposed to be extremely hot weather, go take a walk in a mall. Take a walk in a mall. If you want to, you could go get on the subway and just ride up and down on the subway in the air conditioning. It's a lot of little things that you could do. The last
Mm-hmm.
one with the 5 love language is personal touch, physical touch. Now, of course, you always want to be appropriate and things like that. We're not talking about men just going touching anybody on the head, but it's okay for boys to know that appropriate touches from their dads. Give them their dad a hug, firm handshake,
Wrap 'em up.
right aboard, dap them up so that
Wrap
they
'em up.
know this whole
Mhm,
thing that I gotta be so hard and this and that. Then if I'm this way all the time, I don't know these other feelings and emotions and things like that. But again, it's role modeling for our boys, but also for our young ladies too, that they say, so that our young ladies, hey, I'm proud of you. Give her a hug, kiss on the forehead, those type of things. Hey, give me a high five and things like that. So then she know too. Hey, you my dad. You could do this. Somebody else, they get the high five and stuff like that. Every uncle ain't got to be getting to come on in, bring it in, give me a hug.
right,
Nah,
Yeah.
unc, I'm a little
right,
too old for that now, unc.
Yeah.
Let me get
right,
your shoulder.
right.
So
Just
Yeah.
whatever they're comfortable with. They have to be
yeah,
comfortable. Yeah,
right. But it's having
yeah,
those conversations, and you talked about that. It's communication. It's
right,
Mm-hmm.
communication, and
right,
it's growing and it's learning. And I think with our as men is having that communications with our wives, with our partners. Like, hey, you know what? I saw this. I noticed this, or what's going on, and talk about it. So that
Mm-hmm.
we can feel good about it. So definitely circling ourselves with good people, definitely, knowing those 5 love languages. And then the other part that we talked about this with this trauma, knowing it's okay not to be okay all the time. Every day not gonna be a
Mm-hmm.
good
big
day.
one. That's
And
a big one.
if it's not, it's okay. And I
Yeah.
think we gotta kind of get ourselves in this mind frame, because also last month, this month, particularly is mental health awareness month for men.
Mhm,
To say, hey, most what's going on? Hey, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
fine today. What? No, I'm not. Actually, I'm going through a little something. Wow. Then you could respond, but hey, thanks for asking me, but things have been a little stressful, or I'm not feeling my best, or I'm feeling some kind of way today. Like, we need to have that language, not just to say everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
Or when we say, hey, do you want to talk about it? Feel comfortable. Hey, I don't want to talk, but can I text you? Because it might be an emotional thing that I can't get all into it. It might be
Yeah.
a private thing and the person is right there. I can't. Or I don't want to start something if you can't. So I might say, hey, do you have time to listen? Because if
Mm-hmm.
you asking me and I'm telling you I'm not okay, and I go to start sharing, and you like, yo, hold that moment right there. Let me do this, or
Right,
let me
right,
Hmm.
right,
finish
right.
this up. That's not
It's a
going to
turn
work.
off.
Yup.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, it then or it say, hey, I'm going through something, not sure. Check this out. Can I bounce a couple of things off of you? Going back to you, Otto, talking about that
Yep.
circle around you. If you got
Hmm.
those good people, like, I was at work and somebody said this, and I'm ready to tell them they can have it, but I know I still got that mortgage payment that's going on. Yo,
Exactly.
bro, is it worth it? Is it something? Did they violate this? Hey, you know
Hmm.
what? Don't you got some sick time? Yeah, take your mental health day. Take your mental health day. Go do what you got to do. Tomorrow. It's a long weekend. Come back in and stuff like that. And then lastly, I don't want to talk about it. It's okay too. If you don't want to talk about it, you can say, "Hey, I'm not talking move right now, but thanks." Or I don't feel like talking about it, but I'll take a dap. You know what I mean? Or I'll take a hug.
Hmm.
Or can I come to you when I'm ready to talk? Because I
When
may
I'm
not.
ready.
I got all
Right.
this stuff in. So in that trauma, and then us men, people, knowing the words one, it's okay not to be okay. And when it's not okay, you can let people know I'm not fine today. I
Yeah.
want or not want to talk about it. And then when, the space. So I think those are some of the things that when we talking about where we at right now, it's starting to try to put some of that language to who we are and going back to what was said before, this male masculinity, that it don't
Hmm.
all have to be, that I'm, Tarzan beating my chest, or I'm a
Hmm.
man because I fathered the child, but am I a man because I'm taking care of the child? Am I a man because I'm demonstrating positive characteristics that I will want the child to emulate? Am I being respectful and
Respectful.
honorable to the child's mother?
That's
Hmm.
Because
key.
if that's not happening, in our program, we have families that are together, husband and wife. We have families that co-parent, and the co-parent is two people having a child. They may not be together in a relationship
Hmm.
intimately, but they are saying the number one and primary thing is the safety, health, and welfare of that child. So they're going to make sure that. And then, unfortunately, sometimes we have the parents to do that parallel parenting where they're
Hmm.
at each other. And that parallel is going back to some of that trauma that is not beneficial to the child. That I can't feel like I'm having a good time with dad because I'm going to make mom mad. I
Right.
can't tell dad that I had a good week at home because he might think I'm taking mom's side. That's not fair for a child.
It becomes
So
competition.
exactly. So we gotta dads, we gotta when we know better, they said we do better. So now that we are learning better, we have to work to do better.
Right.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So I'm going to go on to the next topic, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to kind of talk about the topic and ask you, the two of you, about four examples of when you may have dealt with this situation. So the next topic is about sympathy, sympathy and empathy. Sorry, symptom empathy and compassion. So sympathy symptom empathy kind of looks like you're acknowledging the facts of what someone's going through and how what they're going through and their experiences what's actually their experience what they're experiencing due to what they're going through. What it may look like example is, I know you're tired because the baby was up all night, which where you're acknowledging the tiredness due to lack of sleep, or you're feeling nauseous from the morning sickness, or
Hmm.
I see you're still in pain from the stitches, is ways that empathy might show up. Where compassion is the feeling the how and responding with care. So what that looks like is, babe, I can only imagine how draining it is to be up all night. What can I do to help you catch up on a few minutes of rest that you missed? Or even if could I even watch the baby for a little while you rest? Or in the other situation, I hate that you're feeling so nauseous. This must be awful for you. Can I
Hmm.
get you some ginger ale? So
Mhm.
compassion is, it's reacting to those those cues that you're picking up through observing and having observing the symptoms and having empathy for what's happening is great to acknowledge it. But compassion is actually showing up in order to, relieve some of that tension. So, Otto, in your experience,
Mhm.
can you give me a example of where that made it come into play for you?
So once again, like I stated from before, I have three girls,
Hmm.
and my two youngest have twin girls. And when the twins were born, my wife had a C-section. So when she had the C-section, and our girls were premature as well, so when they came back home, they had to have a lot more attention than usual for babies coming back home being born. So my wife had to, she was on bed rest a lot of the times and she had to recover a lot. So there are a lot of instances where we tried to get our daughters to be on the same sleep schedule. So I would stay up with the girls, try to let my wife rest as much as she could, but she was still doing double duty for breastfeeding for the girls and things like that. So I couldn't imagine staying up and feeding the girls on all those times that she did. So what I would do is I would help out anytime. Oh, hey, you want me to change their diapers? Hey, you want to go they're taking a nap right now. Why don't you try to take a nap? Or, hey, you want me to help try to put them down? You can go upstairs, go get a rest. Or, hey, they're taking a rest right now. Let me go, relax with our oldest daughter. So I'll spend time with her playing and stuff like that. Since we still had our daughter, which was 5 at the time when they were born, so she still needed attention as well. Or I would do things of just doing a lot of chores around the house without being told to do those chores, and try the dishes and just making sure the house was neat, grocery shopping and all those type of things, which were a lot of the things that she used to do. But stepping up and showing compassion and just being like, hey, this is first and foremost, it's our home, so we're supposed to do things together. And second of all, you were the one who went through these physical changes, emotional changes, and the least I can do is try to step up as a husband and the father of these three girls to do the things that I can as a man, because there's certain things as a man I can't do for these girls, i.e. breastfeeding, but anything else from changing their diapers and trying to put them down and even holding them, because I had to hold two girls at once to try to soothe them and things of that nature. Having twins at once is kind of tough. You don't get any sleep and things of that, but you just got to push through. But that experience taught me a lot about myself and my wife, that like we could do anything if we just put our mind to it. And you have to lean on your partner on a lot of things in life. You can't do things by yourself. You have to be able to be like, all right, you need help. Do you want help? And you have to say yes, because a lot of times when you say no, they really mean yes too. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
really listen to what they're saying. Even when they say no, sometimes they really mean yes. So you have to catch the vibe of what your partner is saying and stuff like that. But yeah, that's
Mhm.
having the twins was of a lot of times where we had to just be there and just have compassion without even thinking about it. We had to. It was almost reactionary after a little bit of time. So
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I think
mhm.
for mine, so I'm gonna go on the other end. I have the honor of also being part of another group called the Philly Source, which stands for the Philadelphia Study of Associated Risks of Stillbirths. And that's also a real sticky topic that is not often talked about. So, several years ago, like 10 years ago, I was in a relationship, and then we lost our child. And at the time, I didn't have the words for the loss. I didn't know what to say, and I think the loss often was associated with the mother, like, "Hey, I'm sorry for your loss," and things of that nature. But the part that get left out in this often is no one offers condolences to the dad, or
Yeah.
if it's of a siblings, to the siblings, because depending on how far the pregnancy is gone, there that's a loss too. So in this sympathy part, it was a loss there. I joined this committee when I had the opportunity, because it was looking for people who had lived life experiences, and then someone from a dad point of view, because we left out. And then it leads into the empathy, and I think definitely the way that Musa described it and whatever is that with the sympathy, but what, hey, I'm sorry, but you're sorry for what? Do you really know what it's like to
Mm,
lose a child? Do you know what it's like, depending on what stage the stage it happened to carry? And so that's experience. I also unfortunately have had the experience. I'm not gonna say unfortunate, because of true believer God's will, of with a sister and a close friend to go full term, and then to have the birth of unlive child, which is a whole different type of experience. And in that one, I had the empathy because I had some experience in that. But in all of that, it leads to the part about compassion. And the compassion is you have to have the ability to. Everybody not compassionate people.
no.
Like you might hear people in church, I don't want everybody praying for me. If you're the devil, I don't want the devil praying for me. I don't,
Mm,
I don't want that. And if you don't wash your hands, I don't want you cooking for me. So
mm,
everybody can't show compassion. And then
Mhm.
the compassion is, did you sit down and look? And just don't make the situation about you. It's
Yeah.
about me and the situation. And did you ask me? And then after you ask, and I love what you auto jumping in and doing,
Mhm.
because no, are you all right? No, I'm all right. If you know that she, me, whomever, haven't eaten, drinking in a certain amount of time, then it's only natural that they will be thirsty. It's
Mhm.
only natural and healthy that they need to get something to eat. Okay, you might not want this now, but let me get this. If you
right.
in tune to your partner and you know that she likes this particular type of drink or pop, for those people that's got Pittsburgh roots, then you're gonna take it and get her that drink, the same way, like you said, if you're breastfeeding, hey, babe, I see you breastfeeding. Let me get you this. I'll burp in and I'll, lay the baby down. And so you could do those little things, hey, baby, coming in compassionate wise. Let me just do my change, take off my work thing, put on my little thing real quick. I got the baby. Take, do what you need to do. And then there's some of the new moms doing what you need to do, may just be going to the bathroom without the baby. It may be, going to
Mhm.
the store. It may be laying down. It may be whatever. But if you show that compassion of doing, responding, reacting, and doing it in a loving way, don't
In a
do it
living way.
like, yeah, oh, well, what time you going to come back? Or,
Exactly.
no, because if I'm the mom and I've been there all day, and again, if we're talking new moms, all of this is new. My body is changing, my hormones, and we talk about some of these other things. Postpartum, before TV, it's like, you had a baby, you get 4 to 6 weeks off. So within that 4 to 6 weeks, you're supposed to learn everything. Everything's supposed to be great. Then they say, okay, postpartum can last up to 1 to 2 years. Now they say in individuals it can last up to 3 to 5 years. And so you
Mhm.
see some of these emotional things. And postpartum is different in different people and then in different situations. But as us men, we got to have that crystal ball, and we got to be able to rub it. We got to know this is it now, this is it, this period, this is that, and we got to try to figure out how we can get in. And then that's where the compassion come in, sitting back, being supportive, and say, okay, babe, let me, okay, I don't know all what's going on, but
Right.
I got the kids right now, or I got dinner tonight, or
Right.
let me see if I, going back to that
Mhm.
circle, let me see if I could call such and such, and maybe me and you, we could go out and we could get out. Hey, what? Let's do these type of things. And men, we need to take the initiative. Lastly, what I say often, though, women, sometimes men, we are real simple. Tell us
Mhm.
if you think we not doing it right, because y'all know y'all would tell us in other situations. Tell us, hey, this is what I need from you. This is what I would like for you, and tell it in a loving way. Don't, you ain't doing this, and that ain't the telling I'm looking for. Hey, babe, it would be nice. Or, babe, you know what? If you could just rub right there, that would do it for me. Right there, yeah. about 4 to 5 times. So now I already know mentally in my head. When I come home, I need to be on that left side of her shoulder, rubbing it 4 to 5 times because that's what you want. And then
Hmm.
I start doing and things like that. So it goes back to communication. It goes back about being sensitive. It goes about being present. It goes about being consistent. And then it goes back to saying that when we decide, or when I decided that I'm going to accept this position of the greatest position I could ever have in life, and that's being the dad, that these are some of the job qualities, qualifications that come along with it. And some of it is, showing up, being present, being
Hmm.
patient, being vulnerable, um, because I'm not going to know everything all the time.
Hmm.
Everything's
That's it.
not always be perfect, but I'm going to stick in it to make sure that this young person has the opportunities that he or she needs to be able to thrive. And then, and putting, people, persons before myself. And that's some of the things that I just think, we just need with dads. And I think with that, again, stronger families, healthier
Hmm.
communities, and I think that's how we're going to grow in this climate that we're in. We can't continue to not support one another. We can't continue this thing of broken families, and don't like using that term. But if we're broken, how can we be strong? And if two people are broken, how can they mend? So when you get broken people together, then that trauma just continue to grow and spreads out. So we need to keep on doing the things we're doing, but we do have dads doing that. So I don't
Hmm.
want anybody to think it's not. The dads on here are example. The dads to come to Dad Lab, the dads to come to Daddy University, the dads to come to Father Focus, the Cocoa Life fathers that comes, the dads that's I know of Pastor Miles, Reverend Miles and his ministry, at Enon and others. It's dads to show up on a regular basis all the time, and also
Hmm.
in spaces that traditionally may not. You do not have to be the biological father to show up and be present. And so
Amen.
those coaches on Enon 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and y'all had the movie night of Enon,
Mhm.
dad showing up there, so it's, and again, it's not just Enon, it's across the city, but I just want to make sure that the places that I do know where they show up, I do want to acknowledge. So they are showing up. We need to continue showing up and continue talking. Let another brother, when you see him, yo, bro, I like what you're doing. I like this. I like this the way you spending time with your kids. Yo, bro, your daughter look really happy. Walking with you. You know, let's do and say some things like that and not feel like I can't approach this person because of that. But it goes back to the love language, some positive affirmation. Let's let each other know when we see us doing good, and then that way they can spread it to the next.
I like that. Positivity always. I like that.
Yes, I like that too. We're gonna stay positive on this.
Yeah. So wow, that was great. That really, I think that really kind of wrapped up our conversation. We start off the conversation talking about imposter syndrome and basically how we see ourselves and how that shows up in the things we do. We went on to talk about wellness and how it's important to prioritize our wellness so that we can be our best selves for our partners and for our partners and for our kids. Then we went into what does it look like to really see your partner and what they're going through and not just see it and understand it and feel it with your whole heart, but also to jump in and relieve some of that pressure and some of that frustration. So, and it all lends to being better supporters and partners as men in our relationships. And not everybody has an old head or a grandfather or even a father that is still around, not just not in your life, but just still around in general. Like for me, my dad passed, 7 years ago. I
Mhm.
Thankfully I have other men that I've sought out to get instruction from, and which is really important. And while we definitely want men to be able to support each other and teach each other and these things that happen, until everyone has someone that can wrap their arms around them and hold them close and give them the guidance and advice and all the things they need until everyone has someone like that in their lives. We're going to be here to talk to you. The dad's den
Yes.
is here to
That's
talk to
it.
you about
That's
those
it.
things.
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
mean, it would be great if platforms like this were not needed, but they are,
Right.
because not everyone has those figures present in their lives, and sometimes we don't have presence of mind to even look for it because we're too busy getting the job done. So this is
Right.
the Dad's Den, brought to you by Coco Life Black. I am Musa Naboya. We have Otto Enswa and we have Clarence Izard. Our esteemed members of this podcast will definitely be coming to you again, and we'll be talking to you in the future. Any closing words? Anything you want to share? Otto, you go first.
Two biggest things I want to take out of this that you guys said is that we're always here. We're not perfect. You always got to remember that the biggest thing is you just got to put your best foot forward. And one thing I want to say is one of the biggest currencies, especially for kids, is time. If you
Mm.
put time and you put the effort into things, they'll see that. And kids are a big believer. The things that the kids always talk about, my kids, is, do you remember when we did this? You remember when we did this? You remember? Good, bad, or indifferent. It's all about experiences and how much time that you put and you value into your children. And with your partners, just listen to your partners.
Mhm.
Um, being tuned in touch and be vulnerable with them. Be vulnerable with each other, because the more transparent we can be with each other, the less situations and problems we can have. And talking and talking and always communication is the best way to figure things out.
Excellent. And I would agree. One of the family therapists I work with at Turning Pages Services, Katisha Johnson, she came up with this thing, and it's about self care. Men need self care too. And
Come on.
I know sometimes we get caught into that imposter syndrome because, again, if you're a man, you're supposed to be working. If you ain't working, you got time to continue working. But we need
Mhm.
some self care to for our mind, our body, our soul, and then, so with that, we need to make sure we make a list of things that we love and value about ourselves. Meditation is a good thing. It's also sometimes just to unplug from technology, you know. And so we need to make sure that we focus on self care because, lastly, you know, you on an airplane, they say if something happened and the oxygen mask comes down, yes, you have your wife, yes, you have your child, but you need to put the mask on yourself first because if
First.
you don't take care of you and you are make sure you got your oxygen, how can you help the others? So that's what I want to do. Men, we need self-care. So definitely don't forget to take care of yourself so that you can take care of those beautiful children and those mates that you have.
Yep. And as my I know that he didn't make this up, but as my mentor Jordan P. Farini says, you can't pour from an empty cup. So in
Mm.
past in closing, I just want to share a couple strategies and resources for new dads wellness. Here's a few things that you want to do and think about doing in order to improve, how you feel and your effectiveness as a dad. You want to connect with other dads,
Mm-hmm.
join other groups such as Dad's Den, Daddy University, organizations that are formed to support dads and the families that they support. Prioritize sleep whenever possible. Even if it's broken sleep, it's better to maximize your sleep. Maintain physical activity. Motion is medicine. You definitely need to carve out time, even if it's just to take a short walk. It's definitely important. Carve out time for yourself. You definitely need me time, even if it's 30 minutes of a hobby, whatever it is, as long as
Mhm.
it is positive. All right, seek professional support. There are people that have trained, have years of education just in order to help you solve things you're going through. Sometimes you
Mhm.
need somebody like an accountant to itemize your feelings and your events that you've gone through in order to repeat it back to you. Sometimes you end up answering your own questions, but you have to ask the questions in order to get to the answer.
Come
And
on.
lastly, we have mindfulness and self-compassion. Understand that you're not perfect. You're gonna make mistakes. It's only a failure if you stop trying and stop moving.
That's it.
Mm.
So anytime
Like that one.
you fall, make sure you fall forward and get back up.
Mhm. Mhm.
We need you in this game. We need you. We need your support. and the first attendants for our females, for our wives, for our partners are us. We are the first. We're on the front line at all times, and we definitely need to be and should be.
Mhm.
So,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, in closing, I'd like to thank you all for joining. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day on purpose. This is Coco Life's Dad's Den. Have a great one. We'll talk to you
You
soon.
too. Take care, guys.
Yes. Take care.